You're listening to the Minutes on Growth podcast, the show that brings you mindfully curated insights into relationships, spirituality, personal development, and everything in between, with your host, Tannaz Hosseinpour. Hi, everyone. It's Tannaz, and welcome to another episode of Minutes on Growth. This week, I have someone super special to me, Abdulla al Abdulla, one of my really good friends and an amazing entrepreneur and fashion influencer. Welcome, Abdulla.
Hi, Tannaz. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being on. How are you doing?
I'm good. At home, staying safe.
That's wonderful. How's everything in Doha?
Good. Everything is good. I mean, it's a little bit, scary. I mean, the whole world is scary right now, but just trying to stay sane, stay at home, stay protected and productive. I think that's the most important thing that anyone can do right now.
That's wonderful. I'm so happy to hear. So let's dive right in. So I was thinking about purpose, and then you came to my mind because you're one of those people that sticks out to me, that like the person who pursued their true purpose and they pursued their vision and they're actually successful doing it. So I thought it would be great to have your perspective on what purpose is, how to find it, and how to just live it authentically, to just be your truest, highest, and most authentic self on a day-to-day basis. So just for the people who are tuning in, Abdulla actually studied law, right, in London, and that's how our friendship became so much stronger. We were both in London at the same time. We were studying law, and then the laws changed around student visas, and you had to move to Paris, right?
Exactly. So honestly, it was such a crazy time for me. I think because when I first moved to London, I was like, oh, finally, I'm going to live my best life and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. So at the time I had a clothing line. I was writing for New York Times fashion magazine. And I was in law school. So for me, it was so much to juggle at what I was 18 when I first moved to London. So for me, it was just like so much happening, especially being in London is such an energetic city that like literally never stops. So for me, I was at that point where I was so overwhelmed with everything, but kind of in a good way. And then I thought to myself, I need to take a step back and reassess everything that I am doing and kind of prioritize, because I'm not Superman. So I can't really do everything, even though I think that I can, because I'm a Virgo. So I feel like I can literally do everything, and everyone always tells me, Abdullah, slow down. Do one thing at a time, take one step at a time. And I'm always like, no, I want to do this and I want to do this and I want to be this and I want to be that and I want to be here and I want to go there. And it's like, it's a lot. So I think it was very mature of me at 18 to take a step back and think about, okay, what do I actually want to do out of these things? So I thought, okay, right now I'm currently enrolled in law school. So that's something that I'm not going to change, or I can't just change overnight. So I was like, okay, I'll stick with law school and choose one or the other, clothing line or continue writing for magazines. And I dropped my clothing line at the time because it was a lot of work, and I had to actually physically be here and be there and be present, where law school is so demanding. So it was physically impossible for me to be in Doha and then in London and then in Dubai at the time where I was stocked. A lot of my collections were stocked. So it was just like, it was a lot. So I was like, okay, I need to drop that. I need to focus a little bit. And so I continued doing those two, which obviously fashion is what I'm really passionate about and what I actually, wanted to do at the time. But, I was in law school, and honestly, it taught me so much to be in law school, I think. So I like to look at the positives of a lot of things. So I feel like I benefited a lot from being in law school. I feel like I'm the type of person that really goes with instinct and with his gut. And I do the things that I feel based on like the moods that I'm in, And I feel like law really taught me to be more logical and have more of a construct. I don't know if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. But it really taught me to look at things in a more pragmatic way, in a more realistic way. Whereas before I was like living in La La Land and I was like, I could do this and I could be that and I could, So I think that helped a lot. And then I mean, I remember sitting near a living room in London actually, and we were just sitting talking, and I think something really stuck with me, which we were doing. We were playing around with tarot cards, right?
Yeah.
So I remember, you doing like a little tarot card reading, like we were playing around and whatever, and you were laying out my cards, and you were like, in a year from now, you're not going to be living where you're living now.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, I
I
remember.
remember that really stuck with me, like really stuck with me. I remember like I was getting done with my law degree and I wanted to apply for another school. And then under UK law or whatever it was, they were like, oh, I can't live with a student visa in the UK for longer than 5 years. And the other, the degree I was going to move on to was 3 years long. And I had already been there
Mm-hmm.
for 4 years. So I couldn't be in London anymore. And then I remembered and I was like, I was sitting in Tannaz's living room and we were literally talking about this. And I was like, no, she's crazy. This is never gonna happen. Like, what is she talking about? And then I was like, okay, well, it's happening, it's happening. So then I thought to myself, okay, what's my next move? What did I want to do and what do I want to do? And do I go for it? So I was looking at my next options kind of thing. So I was thinking, I obviously love fashion so much. And I was like, I want to do something with fashion. So where's the best place that I can move? The two options for me, honestly, were Italy or France,
Mm-hmm.
which was going to be Milan or Paris. So I immediately started looking at all the schools and my different options and where I could go and where I think I could learn and benefit the most. And Paris was the best option for me at the time. So I remember calling up my mom. I was, maybe 21 or 22. I can't remember. So I called up my mom. I was like, hi, Mom. By the way, I can't stay in London anymore. She was like, what are you talking? She was so caught off guard. I was like, I applied to a school in Paris and I got accepted. And I remember I had an interview with the dean of the university because I applied late. So I applied 2 weeks late to the course. And then thank God they accepted me. So I literally was like, Mom, I'm moving to Paris in 3 days. My course starts. And she was like, what do you mean? I was like, I'm moving to Paris in 3 days. She's like, are you sure you know what you're doing? I was like, I mean, I don't know if I know what I'm doing because I've never like lived in Paris and I don't know what I'm getting myself into. But I was like, but I think I'm ready. I mean, this is kind of what I want to do. So I was ready to take that risk. Finally moved to Paris. And let me tell you, Paris is not an easy city to live in
Mm-hmm.
at all. At all. In terms of the way that everything functions, I think I was definitely not ready. I think London is much more of a functioning city.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of everything is fast paced. Everything is about when the demand is there, they try and meet that demand like ASAP. Whereas in Paris, it's more like everything is more chilled and relaxed and they're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, whatever, like that'll get done later. I remember ordering my internet and it took me almost a month to get internet installed into my apartment
That's
and all
crazy.
these rules and all these I don't know what, and everyone speaks French and I don't speak a word of French, and it was such a tough time,
But do
honestly,
you think
but I
that's
feel
what
like
you needed for like someone like a Virgo who's a go-getter and who wants everything at that moment, right at that time, for the universe to place you in a situation where you had to like calm down and be more laissez-faire about everything? So do you think that was like one of the lessons that you had to learn along the
I
way?
think so, honestly, because I'm the type of person that's like, oh, if I want something, I need to get it now and I need to get it done now. And, I'm that type of person. So living in Paris really taught me to be more patient, I would say, and also learn that not everything is going to be the way that I want it to be. And then I just have to deal with it and kind of adapt around it. Whereas like it's even the simplest tasks, which was like going to the grocery store, was for me a mission. Like I
Mm-hmm.
would think twice, maybe 3 times before I would go to the supermarket because I'm like, okay, what is my interaction going to be? How am I going to speak to the person to ask where this is located? How I'm going to talk to the cashier and how am I going to understand this? How I'm going to tell her that I need a bag? Because honestly, like Paris is such a metropolitan city, but at the same time, no one speaks English. And even when they do speak English, they get bothered by you not speaking French. I don't know. It's this type of like Parisian mentality that I that I had to live with. But then thankfully, like I had my friends, and then I had a housekeeper that would help me around with my apartment that would do a lot for me, actually. Like the things that I wouldn't understand, or the things that needed French or whatever, the simple things, I'd be like, please do it for me. Please call the postman and tell him to deliver this, or can you please do, and and that's kind of how I got a lot of things done, like the simple.
But that's great. You learned how to navigate through life's challenges, even the simplest of challenges. But you were able to, find a way. And I think that's life. Just,
Exactly.
Whenever something happens, we just need to adapt to that change and adopt new ways of living life. And
100%.
that's just the way it is. But it was so great for you because you ended up on GQ France. So
yes.
Paris was huge for you. Like so many wonderful things happened.
I agree 100%. I mean, I think the thing about living in Paris is the amount of people that you would meet and the connections that you would make that link you to this whole industry that I was, aiming to be more involved in. And, since I was in London and I was writing for a few of the magazines, I used to go to Fashion Week and I used to attend the shows. And that's kind of how I got started. And then moving to Paris, there's Paris Fashion Week, which is the biggest fashion week, on the roster. Well, that and Milan. And for me to be present in Paris and living in Paris, it made it that much easier for me to have access to this world and the connections that I made of the PRs that work in, let's say, Dior, or the PR that works in Jean Paul Gaultier, and so on. And being able to build those relationships made me more, I think at the end of the day, it's all about your network and the people that you meet and the people that you know. And that's what's going to build up your career and at the end of the day. Because, I mean, it's sad to say, but okay, if the talent is there, but you have no access to this world, there's no way you're going to be successful in this world because, you don't know someone that does this, or you don't know someone that does that. So I think it's all about the network and setting yourself up to succeed, that I think a lot of the people do forget. Because let's say, okay, I'm going to give you an example. Let's say, for instance, like I'm a really successful fashion designer, let's say, and I'm so talented and I can create these beautiful pieces and this beautiful collection and whatever, but I have no exposure. How am I going to be successful? I have no one that believes in me in this specific industry that I'm trying to prove myself in. How am I going to be successful? So I think it's also a matter of, when I lived in Paris, I was able to meet the right people and was able to, set myself up to succeed in a way, which I think I could have never asked for, living in any other city in the world. I don't think I would have gotten that.
Mm-hmm. I agree that network is the most important, but in order to have access to that network, I think you have to put yourself out there and to be willing to take a risk and a bet on, you're betting on yourself, which you did. And coming from, the Middle East, where we have a little bit more of a conservative society, and parents expect kids to be either a lawyer, an engineer, or a doctor, or in business, but primarily the first three. And then, you decided that, okay, from law, I'm going to shift towards fashion and fashion management. And I'm going to take that risk, and I'm going to break societal norms. And I think that is huge, because at first, there were critics. There were people who doubted that you would be able to succeed. But, you proved them all wrong, but you proved them through your actions. And I think you were so proactive. Yes, you put yourself in that environment. Yes, you had all these visions, and you had talent, all of it. But ultimately, it was you deciding that this is what I want. This is what resonates with my heart and my soul. And I'm going to go for it. And I don't care what other people think. This is who I am. And I think that's what sets you apart from, a lot of other people who are trying to make it out there, especially from our community. So, was it difficult breaking those norms at first?
I mean, honestly, I think it was 1,000% difficult, breaking all these norms. I've had so much backlash from everything that I do, and it's the simplest things, like wearing this or wearing that or posting this and posting that. And I think it's important to some, like, I mean, for me to stay true to myself, but I think it's important for people to stay true to themselves and do what they actually enjoy doing. I mean, whether it's proving people wrong from the Middle East or proving people wrong from Europe. I mean, I also had this negative, when people would first meet me, they would think I'm stuck up because of where I come from. Let's say, come from wealth. I'm obnoxious, materialistic, pretentious. So even when I would meet people in Europe, whether it was even the PR, they would just look at me and see a dollar sign because I come from the Middle East. And they would think that, for instance, people from the Middle East, let's say, well, I mean, a lot of the interactions that I had, that we're stupid and we're just rich and we're present because we're rich, and that we're here because we're rich or we have money. And then, it's also breaking that boundary of what the West think of me or what they think of, people like me.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas here in the Middle East, people wouldn't appreciate what I would be doing, and they think and know, oh, well, like, he like works in fashion, so why? Fashion is for girls. Fashion is a hobby. What is he doing? Like, how is he thinking that this is something that should be taken seriously? There was so many things from so many different sides that I was battling, but at the same time, I'm the type of person that's very carefree. So if someone says something about me, it goes in one ear and out the other. But I mean, it wasn't like that at the beginning. I used to really take criticism in a really bad way. I used to be like, oh, these people don't appreciate me. Look at all the things that I'm doing. I'm opening so many doors. I'm doing this. And, I want people, men in fashion in the Middle East to be able to do this and to be accepted doing it and to do this and to do that. And I felt like everything that I was doing was just, I would take a step forward for people and then they would make me take a few steps back. And for me, it was really sad. But then at the same time, I think it's pursuing something and being adamant that this is what you're going to do is what proves people wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's being, not letting people's words put you down, not letting all these things get in your way, and making sure that you push forward and push on because this is what you believe. And in the end, people will follow what you're doing because they see that you believe in yourself and that you're being successful doing it.
Yes, I love that people see that you believe in yourself. And I think whenever that comes down to confidence, whenever you're speaking confidently, you're walking confidently, people trust you. And you were so consistent and you have such a strong work ethic. I mean, before this shutdown, you were traveling all the time, making sure that you were, staying committed to all your projects. And you were, I think, consistency, confidence, truth, authenticity, these all go together to create success. And you recently launched a very successful fragrance line, right?
Yes. Honestly, it was one of like my proudest moments to date.
That's amazing. So what are some of the tips that you would have for people who are entering the fashion world? I know we were talking about all the challenges from the East and the West, but you succeeded and you stayed strong and you were carefree. I know regardless of how carefree someone can be, it can still, hurt sometimes and it can still, bother you. But you were true to your vision. You were true to your purpose. So I honor you for that. That's wonderful. But for people who are just starting, what would be your top 3 tips?
Honestly, I feel like you need to see the direction that the world is going in. I think that would be my best advice that I could give anyone. I think, especially in the world today, I mean, everything is changing. Everything is so different than what it was when I first started working in fashion. Especially now with the whole coronavirus, global crisis. I think everything post-corona is going to be so different than what it is now, and the things that people actually need. I think it's all about adapting and seeing what, I mean, for me, for instance, now that I'm stuck at home, I'm usually traveling all over the world, doing all sorts of projects with all types of brands. I mean, as an influencer, I'm very fortunate to be able to do so. But now that this has happened, everything has been put to a stop. Everything, the whole world has stopped. And I had so many projects lined up for this month, for let's say March onwards. I had so much coming up. I was supposed to be in LA. I was supposed to talk at the biggest beauty conference in Italy. I was supposed to talk at, I was supposed to do so many different projects and so many different things, and everything got canceled, and I'm the type of person that always looks at the positive side. So I'm like, okay, well, thank God I have my health. I'm at home with my family. Everyone's safe and sound. So it's more than I could ever ask for, But then me sitting at home, I have to look at different ways to adapt to what is going on right now. I think that's the most important thing, is adapting and staying relevant. So while I'm at home, I'm looking at different ways I can contribute to, let's say, to society, ways that I can contribute to my online community, which I'm fortunate enough to have a large following, and seeing different ways I can educate people or help people or whatever. So I, for instance, came up with this entire concept, which I'm doing now with Harper's Bazaar, which is at home with Harper's and Abdulla, sorry. And so basically what I do is I invite people to do kind of like a Zoom interviews, so that, I can educate people on upcoming brands, on whether it's brands that are already established, huge brands that are trying to do something to contribute to our society during this time, and things like that. So I feel like it's important for people to adapt and look at what the market needs, or what your viewers need, or what your followers need. For me, my consumers are my followers. So it's important to see what they want to see, and give them that, and find ways to channel it in a positive way. Because I feel like in the world today, a lot of what we see in the media, or a lot that we see in Instagram, is people dying, people getting sick, or how this is a negative impact on this, and how this is. So I feel like there's a lot of negative things out there, and it's important to keep people engaged with what is happening in the times, but also in a positive way, some way that it's going to impact their life in a positive manner. So even when I was speaking to some of the brands that I've already done some interviews with for this thing that I'm launching, I was asking them what they feel like helped them grow, and what helped their brand grow initially, because there's so many upcoming designers, so many brands that are trying to, become successful or make an impact in the fashion industry. And I was asking these brands who were winners of Fashion Trust Arabia, which is an initiative that I'm an ambassador for, which is based here in Doha. And basically what it does is that it helps designers, emerging designers from all the MENA region, and gives them funds to grow their business and develop their business.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So, I was having these discussions with these brands, and I was asking them what they feel like helped them set them apart from all these other brands, and that is to see what the market needs, what the market wants, because there's so many brands that already exist and that are doing such amazing and incredible things. But what are the things that you can do that will set you apart from these brands? What is that little gap that does not exist, and how can you fill it? I think that's the most important thing that designers need to know and need to see, because there's so many people in the design world that are so talented, but they're just making a dress, or they're just making a beautiful gown. They're making a beautiful garment. And it's like, how will this garment impact people? How will it fill that void? Because there's so many brands, like let's say Dior is making 30,000 gowns per month or per week or I don't know what they're producing, but what is going to set you apart from this brand? Okay, fine, they're a huge brand, they're established, they're whatever, but what makes me as a person, why am I going to buy your dress rather than buy a dress from this brand? What sets you apart? Is it where your dresses are made, who they're made by, the meaning behind them, the meaning behind your brand, your aesthetic, your background, all of these things need to be channeled, and into building what you're trying to build, whether it's in fashion or even in any industry. As a matter of fact, it's seeing what's going to set you apart and what you can bring to the table that no one's bringing to the table.
Mm-hmm. So it's that like unique element that just belongs to you, and the story behind your product, just making sure that you're showing everyone why this item is special to you, how it's special, and how it serves your community, how it serves the market. Am I right?
100%. Like when I was building my fragrance brand, I think it took me almost a year and a half to actually just solidify my 2 cents that I actually launched. And it was me, honestly, the amount of sketches that I went through for the bottle, the amount of sketches I went through for the packaging, the amount of, looking at my logo and branding, looking at this and looking at that is so, I think, draining in a way that I feel like a lot of us just settle. They're like, okay, this is nice, but what is the meaning behind it? Why are you trying to launch this, or why are you trying to do that? Like for me, with my fragrance brand, I want an international product to be in the market internationally. I feel like I just threw that international word in like a bit too much, but I want a product and a brand that is made in Qatar to be in an international platform, to be sold international, to be, recognized internationally. That for me was my purpose of launching my brand. I feel like there's not enough representation of my country on an international market. There is, everyone always talks about Qatar, always talks about Doha, whether it's negative, whether it's positive, whether it's about, investing in this or investing in that. But I feel like there's not so much from Qatar being exported out as I would like it to be. So I feel like me making my impact is creating a made in Qatar product that I want to be launched at an international capacity. And I want it to be kind of a representation of me as an individual, as my followers know, as people that, know me know. I want to bring something that is of quality, that is beautiful, that will last with people. So for me, the most important thing was bringing that made in Qatar element, as well as something that, really resembles me and my followers can see, oh, this product, this is very Abdullah. This is so Abdullah, or this is this, and this is that. So that's what I wanted to bring to the table, is something that I felt like was lacking. And thankfully it did really well in the market. And I think great. That's because it had that little spark of something that was different, that doesn't exist in the market. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the most important thing when you're trying to launch something.
I love it. So you stay true to who you are. You stay true to your heritage, to your background, to your family, to your story. And you took a risk. Like, this was a huge risk, but you took it, and you were authentic through the whole process, and you didn't cut corners, and, you did your best and you succeeded. And I think that's wonderful. And I'm so, so happy that you got to share all of these wonderful tips with everyone who's listening. And I am so, so happy to see how far you've come. And it's such an honor to know someone that passionate in my friends. So thank you. Thank you for being that. And thank you for breaking societal norms every single day. And you're doing a wonderful job.
Thanks for having me, honestly. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and speak soon. Thank you for joining us this week on Minutes on Growth. If you enjoyed today's episode, then make sure you never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button now.